Give me your 1-2 in terms of your favourite pundits.
People I like to listen to most and probably hear and always want to hear more from is probably Graham Souness.
Okay.
And probably Roy Keane.
All right.
They're the ones that I find myself not because they reflect what I have to say or because I'm in an echo chamber, because when you listen to what they're saying, you think that there's more to be learnt from them, and that's what I think punditry should be.
Yeah.
Having your eyes opened a little bit.
Funnily enough, and that in no way was pre-rehearsed. So Souness one, Keane's another. Danny Mills, I don't know if you heard him. I heard this on Kickoff last night. There was a suggestion from Danny that the same Roy Keane is partly to blame for Harry Maguire's backlash that he's suffering at the moment from football fans, which begs the question, how much influence do pundits actually have on public opinion? Let's listen to Danny first. This was Mills last night on Kickoff.
Roy Keane has massive influence. Roy Keane says it, it's gospel. And I think we all, whenever Roy Keane speaks, we all sit up and listen. Obviously, he's got huge gravitas within the game, from what he's achieved and what he's done and everything that he's gone through and achieved in the game. So, you do have to listen. But he can be particularly vicious at times. If Alan Shearer said that, Ian Wright said that, Jamie Redknapp said that, I think we all just go, okay, that's their opinion. But when Roy Keane says it, everybody goes, well, that's the right opinion. How many times have these people seen Harry Maguire play? They'll have seen snippets and they'll have heard comments from Roy Keane that are everywhere, no matter what. So no matter how he's played, if Roy Keane says he's had an absolute shocker and it's disgraceful and he's had a stinker, we all go, well, he has done. And maybe we shouldn't do that. And then you get memes and then you get social media and trolls and everything else coming into it. And yeah, it does influence opinion.
Do you know, I think Danny Mills is right on that. Because the way... Well, do you know what? It almost alludes to the likes of you. Because I see it here with the messages that come in during the show. And someone who's maybe made up his mind, I don't agree with what Simon Jordan's about to say on this matter. Yeah. After you've said it, you've swayed them. And some of them are good enough to come back on and say, look, I have been swayed. I'm now with Simon on this side of the argument. And Keane's got that power as well.
Surely it's about resonance. Surely it's about the ability to make a coherent argument and have some substance behind what you're saying. You can use Alan Shearer and Ian Wright that are vanilla in most of their opinions and say that's the benchmark of how you should be. Or you can have somebody that's got the honesty and the belief and the commitment to what he's saying. If there are times that there is a voyage into pantomime, villainy that I've done in the past, and Roy Keane does repeatedly. It's not attempted to be that way. It's just that you're very strident in your views. I think honesty. We listened to yesterday people making observations about Nuno Espirito Santo's observations on Joe Hart. He asked him a question. He gave him the answer, and he didn't like the answer. What do you want to hear? I think football fans. If you're influenced by a pundit and it's just blind influence and you don't care what they say, they could turn around and say the moon is cheese, and you'd buy that, would you? If there's some resonance in what you're saying, if you're able, I think football fans would take some exception to the characterisation that they're lemmings, that they don't have the ability to see for their own eyes. No, they haven't watched him all season. But there's a visibility to top players that you will see and you will formulate your own opinions. And of course, it'll be herded. People are herded to some extent. They're influenced by the vantage point that they see. That's the nature of the beast. That's politics. That's societal experiences. That's everything. But that doesn't mean that Roy Keane is wrong in his observations. It doesn't mean that Roy Keane is vicious and brutal and overly critical. He's calling it as he sees it. What do you want? Sanitised? Homogenised, soft soaping of the subject matter, or do you want people to say it as it is? And people like that. They like it. They know what's authentic, and they know what's not. And there'll be a segment of society that will just follow because that's their proclivity. But there is also most people and football fans. You can fool some people some of the time, but you can't fool all the people all of the time, right? The bottom line is they'll take their own view.
But it underlines the position of influence that punditry brings. And you realise that now because every day you look at the messages that come in.
And the flip side of that
and people either go with you or they don't. By and large with you, they go with you.
And the flip side of that is you're as good as your next comment. So if you set yourself up as someone that people listen to and then you start to say things that are bloody stupid, the currency that you've achieved for yourself will soon be unwound. Now, if you believe...
Like your take on the Newcastle takeover will never happen.
Well, listen, if they hadn't have changed the landscape around piracy, it probably wouldn't have happened. And if the argument that was being advanced, it was all about state ownership, was actually the true argument, then I probably wouldn't have been wrong. But in the end, I was wrong, and I've held my hands up to the fact that I didn't think it was going to happen, and it did.
Yeah.
You know, so what? There's nothing wrong with being wrong.
No.
No one's right all the time.
Exactly.
The bottom line is that do you believe that punditry affects an outcome? Well, it doesn't affect the outcome of how Harry Maguire plays. He affects that. The one thing you can control in your life is your own mind. You can control that if you choose to. You might need some help and some guidance at times, but you can control it. And Harry Maguire's performances are down to him, not Roy Keane sitting up on high saying, that's not good enough.
To an extent, I agree, but Roy's strident style of delivery is plausible, believable, and people get behind it.
No.
And maybe somebody who before didn't think about Harry Maguire in a certain sense, after they hear Roy, they think in a different way.
That's a yes and no perspective. If you're suggesting that the average football fan is a complete lemon that
I'm
only
not.
follows the example that's set by
Everyone's
people like Roy Keane,
influenceable.
don't forget there's big tribalism. There's a whole group of people that would dislike Roy Keane very much for the teams that he's represented and for the clubs that he's played for and his outlook. People will take exception to it.
Yeah.
But if en masse people are looking at... If the argument is that Harry Maguire is being unfairly targeted for being booed for an England game, he's not being unfairly targeted because his performances are good and people are booing him when his performances are good. He's being unfairly targeted because it's just counterproductive. It's not necessary to boo him.
Yeah.
Listen, they have the right to do what they want. They're football fans. But to attribute influence to pundits, that there's undue influence, is to discredit those that are watching it, is also to give the person that's being singled out for the criticism a pass in his part of the equation, and ultimately is to elevate the importance of a pundit. Roy Keane would say if the roles were reversed. I wonder how Roy Keane would have reacted if someone were critiquing his performance in the same way that he critiques others, and if he would cry like a baby and not be very happy with it. I think Danny is trying to advance a point that is making a point and then trying to support the point he's making. He doesn't clearly agree that Roy Keane should be as strident as he is. I think there's something wrong with plain speaking. There's not enough of it. That's the thing that's wrong with it.
Yeah.
More people should have the courage of their convictions.
Does your plain speaking go to borderline viciousness?
Depends if you believe that what I'm saying is personally based. You know, I don't... You know, when you made your observations about Wayne Rooney, I don't dislike Wayne Rooney. I was asked a question about his professional characteristics, and so I made an observation, and it was highlighted up that somehow there was a personal agenda. I never disliked Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I dislike mediocrity being rewarded. I dislike mediocrity being put forward, and so that real talented people are excluded. That's the principle I dislike, and then people say it's personal. Now, you could say, me saying Ollie get his coat, which was a contextual observation about what I would tell him if I was the chairman, and you've hijacked and turned into something else, in some people's language could be considered to be vicious.
Sure.
But that's lightweight people that don't understand what the real world takes to be absolutely blunt to get people to do things in life.
But the power of punditry is interesting. And as
It
you
is.
always say
It's
to me,
influential.
what is the point of a mind?
You can't change it.
If you can't change it.
Absolutely.
I mean, you called me a pipsqueak in your book, but now you've changed your opinion
No,
on me
I
completely.
think it was a buffoon.
All right, was that a buffoon?
No,
That was
I haven't
it,
changed that, no.
Wasn't a pipsqueak at all. Simon, I thank you. 12 noon.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.